One of the most frustrating things I've ever had to learn is the law of detachment. It just doesn't seem to make any sense that the more tightly you hold on to something or to someone, the more life seems to just take it away from you. Whether it's a relationship, a job title, a possession, money, or even our sense of identity, the things that we tightly cling to often become the very things that are taken away. Deepak Chopra teaches the law of detachment in the 7 spiritual laws of success. So when something, someone, a plan, a goal means a great deal to you, you don't give up on the desire or your intentions to get what you want. But the law of detachment means we detach from the outcome. So you give something your best shot. You do everything you can to create something really special. You cover all your bases and then you see what happens. It's kind of like you bring up your child to the best of your ability, and then at some stage, you have to let them go. And with all that they've learned from you, the values, the ethics, the kindness, the respect, they're off into a world that's new and exciting to them. But to you, with all of your experience, it is loaded with an emotional roller coaster that is full of massive pitfalls. So how does this make any sense? You put everything into something, you give it your all, and then what do? You completely let it go? Well, that's not exactly it. You detach by standing back, by being there still, but you're not forcing, you're not pushing an outcome. You know you have done the work, you know you've given it everything you've got, and then it's time to have a little faith. I guess it's kind of like teaching someone to drive. You sit beside them, you're guiding, you're giving instructions, you're testing their ability, and when the time is right, they drive alone. And maybe they'll come unstuck. And maybe you know what it feels like when you're driving yourself and your passenger is trying to control how you're driving. They interfere with how fast or with how slow you're going. They tell you you're in the wrong lane, that you brake too late. And when all of this is happening, how are you feeling? How are your driving skills when someone is interfering and doubting your ability? It's horrid. You lose your confidence. You start questioning your own ability. You drive with less confidence. And something I learned from Kyle Cease, and it sounds nuts at first, but hear me out. We're all a bit like apple trees. We take in water, we take in nutrients, which translate to our experience. We hold as memories, our knowledge, our relationships, our abilities, and in return, we produce fruit. And if you think of the apples as the ideas that we generate, the work we create, the love we offer, the kindness we express, the things that we build. But when somebody takes one of our apples, something we've spent so long to create, our ego shouts, "That's mine!" And suddenly life feels pretty dramatic, feels unfair, even threatening, and your whole sense of security has just been compromised. The truth is, we usually put all of our focus on what was taken away from us, our trust, our possessions, our heart, our security, and not on our capacity to grow more of what was taken away. Because as long as we're breathing, we are creating. We are naturally abundant. We're not here to hoard stuff, but to grow and to give and to share, to release and make more of the same. Imagine an apple tree refusing to let go of its fruit. Within weeks, the apples, they'd rot. They'd poison the very branches they're clinging to. The tree would weaken, stagnation would set in, energy would be completely blocked. The same thing happens to you when you cling too tightly to the things you believe identify who you are. Your possessions, your job title, your relationships, your appearance, your bank balance, your reputation. What you're really clinging to is not the object or the person, but a false sense of identity, a belief that the title, the relationship defines who you are, and that without them, you're less. Tony Robbins also talks about hoarding, clinging on to people and things, and the more you cling, the more you seem to lose. But when you allow, when you let go, it's like we open up to this flow of energy that somehow brings things to us. So let's say you're giving something your absolute all, a project, a relationship, a job, a qualification, you're working on your health, you're losing weight, and then you surrender to a higher power and have a little faith. Faith in what you've done, the journey you've taken, the amount of energy you gave. And this is the toughest part of all. After you've given your heart, your soul to something, you surrender to the outcome without expectation. Imagine the first time someone jumped out of a plane with a parachute. And before the jump, they checked their parachute, they packed it themselves, they went through all of the safety checks, and then in complete surrender, as prepared as they possibly could be, they jumped into the abyss. Little bit deeper, the truth is that attachment and clinging usually hides so much fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of losing control, fear of change. And deeper down the rabbit hole is a yearning to know who we truly are without the labels, without the roles, without the possessions. How often do you ask yourself, who am I? And the good news is you don't need to sell your house, leave your family, or become a monk to find out. The journey to who you are is just under all of those layers of labels and stuff. And it begins in silence, in stillness, in the radical act of simply observing and being the witness to your own thoughts, your own breath. And this is why I often return to the practice inspired by Eckhart Tolle of simply becoming the observer, noticing the mind rather than being ruled by it, listening to your own judgments, your own opinions, your resistance, all of it, like clouds passing across the sky of your awareness. Because let's be honest, if all of our thoughts were spoken out loud, most of us would sound completely unhinged. But from this place of just witnessing, something magical happens. We begin to detach from the mind's endless chatter. We begin to sense something way more stable, far more spacious, something timeless beneath all of the noise. And from that space, a new question arises, not what can I get, but how can I serve? And that question alone has the power to transform your life, because the moment you focus on being of service, you connect to the flow of life itself. Joy expands, creativity returns. You stop gripping and you start giving. And the flow of energy, the flow of chi, life force is opened. And here's the paradox. The more that you give, the more that you receive. Not because you're chasing rewards, but because you've become part of the natural rhythm, the same rhythm that guides the seasons, that grows the trees, that births the stars. So just try letting go of what you're clinging to. Not because it's wrong to care, but because you're so much more than anything you're afraid of losing. You are not what you possess. You are not even what you've created. So who are you? You are the source of creation itself. You're the tree, the roots, the fruit, the sky, all of it. You are pure consciousness, a spiritual being having this physical experience. So breathe, be still, and trust what's meant for you will always find you when your hands are open, not clenched, Have a beautiful day, my friends. If this resonated with you, give it a like, and I will see you soon. Namaste.